If you're after a story about a mediocre hacker messing around for kicks, then you can click off this video now. This isn't about an average hacker, we're talking about a notorious figure orchestrating high-profile cyber attacks that have sent shockwaves through governments and corporations alike. This is about IntelBroker. But before we get into the deep details of IntelBroker's exploits, just pretend you're at a digital black market. A place where hackers gather to buy, sell, and trade stolen data like it's just another day at the office. This is Breach Forums, IntelBroker's longtime stomping grounds. No, Breach Forums isn't your typical social media platform. It's especially a hangout spot on the internet for cybercriminals. Think of it as a digital swap meet for hackers, where instead of old furniture and collectibles, they're dealing in stolen data and hacking tools. If you're up to date with cybersecurity news, you'll know that Breach Forums recently got taken down. Again. Yeah, you heard that right. It's like a game of whack-a-mole with these forums. They get shut down, then pop up again. But each time they come back, they're a bit different. This latest version? It's much the same, just cobbled together from the remnants of its former self, missing some key players. But IntelBroker was still there. And in this digital Wild West, IntelBroker isn't just another face in the crowd. They're the one everyone's watching, the name on everyone's lips. We're gonna break down how this hacker went from unknown to one of the most feared names in cybercrime. Our story kicks off in late 2022. That's when IntelBroker first appeared on the scene. But it wasn't until early 2023 that they really made waves. Their big break? Allegedly hacking We grocery service. A data breach is when someone unauthorized gets their hands on private information. In this case, we're talking about personal and financial data of about 11 million users. That's a massive amount of sensitive info up for grabs. But IntelBroker was just getting started. In 2023, they joined a criminal hacking group that goes by a name I cannot repeat, unfortunately. Not exactly a politically correct name. This was orchestrated on Breach Forums. While IntelBroker was just a member, they quickly became the star player. The group's biggest attacks, all masterminded by IntelBroker. As 2023 rolled on, IntelBroker was on a tear. They hit some big names. Europol, that's like the European FBI. AutoTrader, Volvo, Hilton Hotels, and AT&T. These weren't small-time hacks. We're talking major corporations and even law enforcement agencies. IntelBroker claimed they were developing something called endurance ransomware. Now, for those who don't know, ransomware is nasty stuff. It's malicious software that locks up your files and demands money to unlock them. But here's the twist. There's no evidence IntelBroker ever actually used ransomware. What we do know is that IntelBroker has a public GitHub account. GitHub, for those not in the tech world, is like a social network for coders. On this account, there's a tool called Endurance Wiper. It's written in C++, a programming language, and it's designed to wipe data. Not lock it up for ransom, but destroy it completely. That's a whole different level of threat. By early 2024, IntelBroker was aiming higher. We're talking US government agencies. They leaked data from the state and homeland security departments. They got their hands on classified DARPA documents. DARPA, by the way, is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. They're the folks who work on cutting-edge tech for the military. But the crown jewel? IntelBroker claimed they had access to something called the US Army Dashboard. That's a big deal if true. Then came the Los Angeles International Airport breach. IntelBroker got into a database with 2.5 million records. We're talking full names, ID numbers, company info, plane details, and nearly 2 million email addresses. How'd they do it? By exploiting a weakness in the airport's customer relationship management system. CRM systems are used to manage interactions with customers, so they're often packed with valuable data. But wait, there's more. IntelBroker hit U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement through a company called Acuity. This time, they used what's called a zero-day vulnerability in GitHub. A zero-day is a software flaw that the good guys don't know about yet, but the bad guys do. This breach exposed personal info of over 100,000 U.S. citizens, and even some sensitive documents about how the Five Eyes Alliance investigates stuff. The Five Eyes, for those who don't know, is an intelligence alliance between the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Now, who is IntelBroker? That's the million-dollar question. The Department of Defense Cybercrime Center thought maybe it was an Iranian state operation. Why? Because the malware IntelBroker used looked a lot like a nasty piece of work called Shamoon, which has been linked to Iran. But IntelBroker says that's all wrong. They claim to be just one person from Serbia living in Russia for safety. In a YouTube interview, that's the story they stuck to. So what's driving IntelBroker? Mostly it seems to be about the money. They're selling access to all this data and systems they've hacked, but there might be more to it. Some of their targets, especially in the United States, suggest there could be some political motivations too, particularly when it comes to NATO-aligned countries. Just when you thought IntelBroker couldn't aim higher, they go after the big tech boys. On June 18, 2024, AMD announced they were looking into a potential cyber attack. IntelBroker claimed they'd breached AMD.com and were selling the data. We're not talking about a little bit of data here. This breach supposedly exposed future product details, spec sheets, customer databases, property files, ROMs. That's read-only memory. Basically the fundamental instructions for a device, source code, firmware, financial info, and tons of employee data. That's the kind of stuff that could really hurt a company like AMD. But IntelBroker wasn't done. Just 2 days later, on June 20th, they claimed they'd hit Apple too. They said they'd exposed internal tools like Apple Connect SSO and Apple HWE Confluence Advanced. Now, here's where it gets technical. A security team from a consultancy called AHCTS analyzed the leaked Apple code. They found it wasn't the actual source code for these tools, but rather the plugins and configurations that connect Apple's systems to other software they use internally, specifically Atlassian Jira and Confluence for single sign-on authentication. It's like having the keys to the house, but not the blueprints. AMD didn't waste time responding. They put out a statement saying they were aware of the claims and were working with law enforcement and a third-party partner to figure out what happened and how bad it was. Apple, on the other hand? Radio silence. As of the last update, they hadn't responded to requests for comment from the Cyber Express. You want to know about IntelBroker's attack methods? Well, they claim to rely solely on exploiting vulnerabilities for initial access. Think of it like finding a loose board in a fence. That's their way in. For the LAX airport attack, they found a flaw in the customer relationship management software. CRM is what businesses use to manage customer interactions. For the PandaBuy and We breaches, they exploited various web vulnerabilities. These are weaknesses in websites that can be used to gain unauthorized access. At Home Depot, they took advantage of a third-party software-as-a-service vulnerability. The United States Immigration Agency breach was an interesting one. They messed with misconfigurations in AWS buckets. The buckets are like digital storage containers. If they're not set up right, hackers can get in. At Acuity, Barclays, and HSBC, they used a GitHub zero-day vulnerability. A zero-day is a software flaw that the good guys don't know about yet, but the bad guys do. The kicker? We don't know the specific vulnerabilities they used. No CVE identifiers have been made public. It's like they're always one step ahead. How about IntelBroker's tactics, techniques, and procedures? Let's break down IntelBroker's playbook. In the cybersecurity world, we call these TTPs. Here's what we know. T1485, data destruction. They're not just stealing data, they're destroying it. This could be to cover their tracks or cause more damage. T1190, exploit public-facing application. They're targeting apps that are accessible from the internet. This is often the easiest way in. T1203, exploitation for client execution. This means they're tricking users into running malicious code. Could be through phishing emails or malicious downloads. T2041, exfiltration over C2 channel. They're using command and control servers to steal data. This allows them to maintain a connection to the compromised system. T2083, file and directory discovery. They're snooping around looking for valuable files once they're in the system. T2078, valid accounts. They're using legit accounts to move around undetected. This could be accounts they've stolen or created. T1005, data from local system. They're grabbing data directly from compromised computers. It's like they've got a Swiss Army knife and they've mastered every blade. Not only this, but these hackers have very strict cryptocurrency transactions and communication methods. Obviously, IntelBroker isn't doing this for free. They're selling the stolen data, but they're smart about it. They only accept payment in Monero or XMR. Monero is a cryptocurrency that's all about privacy. It's way harder to trace than Bitcoin. They're even willing to use a middleman for transactions. This adds another layer of anonymity, making it even harder to track the money flow. As for how they communicate, they're using something called Tox Messenger. It's an end-to-end encrypted platform, similar to Signal. This means their messages are scrambled, and only the sender and receiver can read them. It's like they're passing notes in a language only they understand. We've seen IntelBroker's rise and the full scope of their activities. Now, let's dive into the aftermath. What happens when the dust settles after these massive cyber attacks? On June 22, 2024, AMD dropped an update about their breach. Here's what they told Bloomberg, word for word. Based on our investigation, we believe a limited amount of information related to specifications used to assemble certain AMD products was accessed on a third-party vendor site. We do not believe this data breach will have a material impact on our business or operations. AMD's saying, yeah, we got hit, but it's not as bad as we thought. They're claiming only a small amount of info was accessed, and it was on a third-party site, not their main systems. Now, this is pretty standard corporate speak after a breach. Companies often try to downplay the impact. But here's the thing. Even a limited amount of information can be dangerous in the wrong hands. We're talking about specifications for assembling AMD products. That's sensitive stuff that could potentially be used to reverse engineer their tech or find new vulnerabilities. And notice they say material impact. In corporate lingo, that usually means it won't significantly hurt their bottom line or stock price. But it doesn't necessarily mean there's no impact at all. Let's talk about Apple's silence. According to the Cyber Express, Apple hasn't responded to requests for comment about their alleged breach. This is pretty unusual for a company that's usually on top of its PR game. Apple's silence could mean a few things. Maybe they're still investigating and don't want to say anything until they're sure. Or maybe they're hoping this will blow over if they don't acknowledge it. Either way, their customers are left in the dark. These breaches show just how vulnerable even the biggest tech companies can be. We're talking about AMD and Apple here. companies that spend millions on cybersecurity. If they can get hit, anyone can. Like seriously, these hackers are using advanced techniques, exploiting zero-day vulnerabilities, and staying one step ahead of cybersecurity measures without fail. For companies like AMD and Apple, these breaches can lead to loss of customer trust, potential lawsuits, and maybe even government investigations. For us as individuals, our personal data could be out there, potentially being sold on the dark web. This is the world we live in now. Cybercrime isn't going away. If anything, it's getting more sophisticated. And as we become more reliant on technology, the potential impact of these attacks only grows. But it's not all doom and gloom. These incidents push companies to improve their security measures. They raise awareness among the public about the importance of cybersecurity. And they drive innovation in the cybersecurity industry. The battle between hackers and cybersecurity experts is ongoing. And right now, with actors like IntelBroker out there, it feels like the hackers might be winning. But the game's not over yet. The digital destruction left by IntelBroker is astonishing. IntelBroker's impact on the cybersecurity landscape has been nothing short of seismic. We're talking about a hacker, or possibly a group, that's managed to breach everything from grocery services to government agencies, and even tech giants like AMD and Apple. IntelBroker's hit list is impressive and scary. We're talking about millions of user records exposed, classified government documents leaked, and proprietary tech company data up for grabs. This isn't your average script kiddie messing around. This is high-level, sophisticated cybercrime. What makes IntelBroker stand out is the range of their targets. From private companies to critical infrastructure and government agencies, they've shown they can breach just about anyone. This versatility is what makes them such a formidable threat. IntelBroker's not using off-the-shelf hacking tools. They're exploiting zero-day vulnerabilities, manipulating complex systems like AWS buckets, and using a mix of tactics that keep cybersecurity experts on their toes. While there's been speculation about state involvement, the evidence points to IntelBroker being primarily motivated by money. They're selling the data they steal, turning cybercrime into a lucrative business. Despite all the attention, IntelBroker's true identity remains a mystery. Their use of anonymous communication channels and cryptocurrency for transactions makes them incredibly hard to track. But here's the thing. As impressive as IntelBroker's exploits are, they also highlight a crucial point. Our digital world is vulnerable. Really vulnerable. Every time you input your credit card details online, every time you share personal information with a company, every time you use a government service, that data is out there. And as IntelBroker has shown, it's not as secure as we'd like to think. This is the ongoing challenge we face. How do we protect our data in a world where even tech giants and government agencies can be breached? How do we stay one step ahead of sophisticated cybercriminals who seem to always find a way in? There's no easy answer, but one thing's for sure, it's everyone's problem. From individuals being more careful with their data, to companies investing more in security, to governments creating better policies, we all are at risk. The IntelBroker saga isn't over. As we speak, they could be planning their next big hack. And even if IntelBroker disappeared tomorrow, there'd be another hacker or group ready to take their place. Today, we're diving into a story that's a tale of smartphones, sneaky software, and a whole lot of people who might not even know they're part of it. Let's start with something you probably use every day: Android. You know, that operating system that runs on billions of phones and tablets worldwide? Yeah, that one. Google's golden child. It's been around for a while, and like anything in tech, it keeps getting updated. Now, here's where things get interesting. Between 2014 and 2022, Google started saying goodbye to older versions of Android. We're talking Android 4 through 10. No more updates. No more security fixes. It's like leaving the door unlocked on your digital house. Here's the kicker. More than 87% of the victims in our story are using these outdated versions. That's a lot of unlocked doors, folks. Now RAFEL RAT. It's a piece of malware that sneaks onto Android devices. RAT stands for Remote Access Trojan, by the way. Think of it as a secret backdoor into your phone. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds like a lot of tech mumbo-jumbo, but stick with me, because this is where it gets real. This RAFEL RAT? It's not just some random virus. It's a tool, a weapon even, in the hands of some pretty sophisticated hackers. Just the beginning of our story. In April 2023, someone noticed something fishy on a Pakistani government website. Little did they know, they'd just stumbled upon the first clue in a global cybercrime spree. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. For now, just remember, your phone might be more vulnerable than you think, and there are people out there ready to take advantage of that. Stay tuned, because this rabbit hole goes deep, and we're just getting started. All right, let's dive deeper into this digital rabbit hole. Remember that Pakistani government website I mentioned? Well, in April 2023, some sharp-eyed folks noticed something wasn't quite right. They found traces of hacking on the site. Now, this wasn't just some kid messing around. We're talking serious professional level stuff. This is where we need to introduce a couple of big concepts in the cybersecurity world. First up, we've got what's called a supply chain attack. Imagine you're a burglar, but instead of breaking into a house directly, you tamper with the locks at the factory. That's kind of what's happening here. The hackers aren't going after individual phones, they're compromising the infrastructure that those phones connect to. Then we've got APTs. They are advanced persistent threats. These aren't your run-of-the-mill hackers. We're talking about highly skilled groups, often backed by nation-states who play the long game. They're patient, they're persistent, and they're really good at what they do. Now, why would someone hack a government website? Well, it's not just for bragging rights. Think of it as setting up a distribution center for digital weapons. Once they've got control of the site, they can use it to spread malware far and wide. So here we are, with a compromised government website and some very sophisticated players in the game. It's like the opening move in a high-stakes chess match. The pieces are on the board, but the real action? That's just about to begin. Fast forward to April 2024, and we've got a new player in the game, the Do Not team, also known as APT-C35. These guys aren't amateurs. They're a sophisticated hacking group with some serious skills. Now, they've found a flaw in something called Foxit PDF Reader. You know how you open PDFs on your computer or phone? Yeah, that kind of software. But here's the kicker. They're not just reading your PDFs. They're using this flaw to sneak in a nasty little piece of malware called RAFEL RAT. Let's break down what RAT means. It stands for Remote Access Trojan. Think of it like this. Imagine someone installed a secret door in your house that only they knew about. They could come and go as they please, rifle through your stuff, even watch you without you knowing. That's what a rat does to your phone or computer. But here's the really sneaky part. They're not breaking down your digital door. They're tricking you into opening it for them. This is where social engineering and phishing come in. It's like getting a call from someone pretending to be your bank, or an email that looks like it's from your boss. They're playing mind games, manipulating you into doing something you normally wouldn't do, like installing an app you don't need or opening an attachment you weren't expecting. So now we've got this powerful hacking group exploiting a vulnerability in a common piece of software to install a secret backdoor on people's devices. And they're doing it by tricking people, not by brute force. And trust me, this is just the beginning. The Do Not team? They're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And their next move? Well, that's going to take this whole thing to a whole new level. But we'll get to that in a minute. For now, just remember, in the digital world, if something seems too good to be true, or even just a little bit off, it probably is. It's May 18th, 2024, and things are heating up. Remember that Pakistani government website we talked about earlier? Well, it's just become ground zero for something big. The hackers have set up shop right on that compromised site, installing what we call a web panel for their RAFEL rat. Now, let me break this down for you. This web panel is like a control room. It's where the bad guys go to manage all the devices they've infected with their malware. This is what we in cybersecurity call command and control infrastructure, or C2 for short. Think of it like a puppet master's strings. The hackers pull the strings from their C2, and all the infected devices dance to their tune. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This control panel, it's built using PHP, which is a programming language often used for web stuff. But the real kicker is how they're storing data. They're using something called JSON files. It's a way to structure data that's easy for both humans and computers to read. Smart move on their part. It makes their operation more flexible and harder to detect. But wait, there's more. These guys aren't putting all their eggs in one basket. They've set up a backup communication channel using Discord's API. Yeah, that Discord, the chat app gamers love. They're hiding in plain sight, using a popular platform to help control their malware empire. This is next-level stuff, folks. This is a sophisticated operation with redundancies built in. They're prepared for things to go wrong, and they've got backup plans. And here's the scary part. All of this is happening right under our noses, on a government website that people trust. It's like the digital equivalent of setting up a drug lab in a police station. But hold on to your hats, because this is just the setup. The real impact of what's happening here, that's coming next. And trust me, it's going to blow your mind. All right, folks, we've reached June 2024, and this is where, you know what, really hits the fan. The cybersecurity pros at Check Point have just dropped a bombshell report, and let me tell you, it's a doozy. Remember that RAFEL rat we've been talking about? Turns out it's way bigger than anyone thought. We're not talking about a few isolated incidents here. We're looking at over 120 malicious campaigns. And these aren't just targeting your average Joe. We're talking high-profile organizations, military, government sectors, the big leagues. But here's where it gets really wild. This thing has gone global. We've got victims popping up all over the map. The US, China, Indonesia, you name it. It's like a virus. But instead of infecting people, it's infecting phones. Now, remember when we talked about those outdated Android versions? Well, here's where that comes back to bite us in the behind. A whopping 87.5% of the infected devices are running Android version 11 or older. That's a lot of unlocked doors, folks. And it's not just one type of phone. We're seeing this across the board. Samsung, Xiaomi, Vivo, Huawei. Some of the biggest names in the business all caught up in this mess. This is the digital equivalent of a pandemic, folks. It's spreading fast, it's hitting hard, and it doesn't care what kind of phone you have or where you live. But here's the kicker. This is just what we know about. For every infection we've found, how many more are out there, undetected? It's like an iceberg. We're just seeing the tip of it. And trust me, what these infected phones can do, that's where this story goes from bad to nightmare. But we'll get to that in a minute. For now, just remember, this isn't some far-off threat. It's here, it's real, and chances are, it's a lot closer to home than you think. All right, let's dive deeper into this digital nightmare and get into the nitty-gritty of what RAFEL RAT can really do. Buckle up, folks, because this is where it gets seriously technical. The global cybersecurity community is reeling from the full impact of RAFEL RAT, and it's a doozy. This isn't just some run-of-the-mill malware. We're talking about a sophisticated tool that's redefining the landscape of mobile threats. Let's break down its capabilities. 1. Data exfiltration. RAFEL RAT is like a vacuum for your personal information. It sucks up everything: contacts, SMS messages, call logs, device info, and even a list of your installed apps. This isn't just snooping, it's a full-scale data heist. 2. Device control. This malware can take over your phone like a puppet master. It can lock your screen, change your wallpaper, and even delete your files. Imagine waking up to find your phone has a mind of its own. That's RAFEL RAT in action. 3. Location tracking. Your privacy? Gone. RAFEL RAT can track your location with pinpoint accuracy. Every move you make, every place you go, the hackers know it all. 4. Notification interception. Those private notifications you think only you can see? Think again. RAFEL RAT can intercept and forward them, giving hackers a real-time feed of your digital life. 5. Ransomware functionality. Here's where it gets really nasty. RAFEL RAT comes equipped with ransomware capabilities. It can encrypt your files using advanced encryption standard, military-grade stuff, and lock your screen. Suddenly, you're locked out of your own digital life, forced to pay up or lose everything. But wait, there's more. Remember two-factor authentication? That extra security step we've all been told to use? Well, RAFEL RAT has found a way to bypass it. The technical details aren't clear, but the implications are huge. It's like finding out your bank vault has a secret back door. Now, let's talk about how this thing stays hidden. The creators of RAFEL RAT have built in some serious evasion techniques. It's built with string encryption. This obscures the malware's code, making it harder for security software to recognize. It's got packer usage. This compresses and encrypts the malware, further hiding it from detection. It has anti-analysis methods. These are designed to throw off security researchers and make the malware harder to study. But here's the real kicker. RAFEL RAT is abusing legitimate app identities. We're talking about big names like Instagram, WhatsApp, and various e-commerce platforms. The malware disguises itself as these trusted apps, turning them into Trojan horses. You think you're downloading a harmless update, but you're actually inviting RAFEL RAT into your digital home. This isn't just a security breach, folks. This is a full-scale digital invasion, leveraging some of the most advanced techniques in the hacker's playbook. It's a wake-up call for the entire mobile security industry and a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities in our increasingly digital lives. The world of cybercrime is evolving, and RAFEL RAT is at the cutting edge. It's a perfect storm of sophisticated technology, clever social engineering, and exploited trust. And the scariest part? This is just the beginning. Alright, let's dive deeper into the aftermath of the RAFEL rat crisis and break down the response from the cybersecurity community and affected organizations. This isn't just about individual users anymore. We're talking about a global mobilization against a serious digital threat. First off, let's talk mitigation strategies. These aren't just suggestions, they're your digital survival kit. Stick to the Google Play Store. This isn't just about convenience. The Play Store has built-in security measures that scan apps for malware. It's not foolproof, but it's a lot safer than downloading apps from unknown sources. You know, updates are your friends. Regularly updating your Android OS and apps isn't just about getting new features. These updates often include crucial security patches that can protect you from the latest threats. How about mobile security apps? These aren't just antivirus programs. We're talking about comprehensive security suites that can detect malware, protect your privacy, and even help you locate your device if it's lost or stolen. Permission paranoia really pays off. Be skeptical about app permissions. If an app is asking for access it doesn't seem to need, that's a red flag. This is how malware like RAFEL rat gets its hooks into your device. Be careful on the URLs you click on. Clicking on links in emails or SMS messages is like playing digital Russian roulette. These can be phishing attempts or direct download links for malware. When in doubt, don't click. Lastly, leverage Play Protect. This built-in Android feature scans apps before you download them and continues to check your device. It's like having a security guard for your phone. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. The RAFEL rat incident is a wake-up call for the entire mobile security industry. One of the key issues this incident has highlighted is the double-edged sword of Android's open-source nature. On one hand, it's what makes Android so flexible and customizable. On the other, it means the tools to create malware like RAFEL rat are widely available. Anyone with the right skills can potentially create the next big threat. This open-source dilemma ties into a broader conversation about mobile security. We're seeing increased focus on things like endpoint protection for mobile devices. This is about securing the device itself, not just the network it's connected to. Using AI and machine learning to spot threats before they can do damage is also on the come-up. And lastly, it's about building security into apps from the ground up, rather than treating it as an afterthought. We're also seeing a renewed emphasis on user education. The reality is, many of these threats rely on social engineering, tricking users into making mistakes. By educating users about things like phishing, permission abuse, and the importance of updates, we can create a human firewall against these threats. This isn't just about personal devices anymore. The RAFEL rat incident targeted high-profile organizations, including military and government sectors. This blurs the line between personal and national security. We're likely to see increased government involvement in mobile security as a result. So where does this leave us? We're at a crossroads in mobile security. The threats are evolving, becoming more sophisticated and widespread. But our defenses are evolving too. It's a constant arms race with your phone as the battlefield. The key takeaway here is vigilance. Your phone isn't just a device, it's a portal to your entire digital life. Treat it that way. Stay informed, stay cautious, and remember, in the digital world, your best defense is knowledge. This RAFEL rat incident? It's not the end. It's just the beginning of a new chapter in mobile security, and we all have a part to play in writing it. Stay safe out there. Hey there, crypto enthusiasts and tech junkies. I have something wild to show you today. A tale of SIM swapping, cryptocurrency theft, and a whole lot of chaos. I can't believe more people haven't heard about it. Now, before we jump in, let's break down some basics. SIM swapping is awful. It's when bad actors trick your phone company into moving your number to a new SIM card they control. It's like someone stealing the key to your digital life. Our story revolves around three key players: Robert Powell, Carter Rohn, and Emily Hernandez. These folks weren't exactly your friendly neighborhood hackers. No, they were allegedly running a full-blown SIM swapping operation. It all kicked off back in March 2021. Powell, the alleged ringleader, teamed up with Rohn and Hernandez to start planning their attacks. They weren't messing around. We're talking about using actual ID card printers to create fake documents. That's some serious commitment to the con. We needed to make it look real. No room for mistakes. Yeah, and those fake IDs were just the beginning. We had to think of everything, every little detail. Their first known victim? Someone only known as JV. On March 7, 2021, Powell allegedly sent Rohn the poor soul's phone number and personal info. Just like that, JV's account was compromised. I'm sad for JV, but this was just the beginning. Over the next year and a half, Powell and his crew would allegedly pull off increasingly brazen heists, stealing hundreds of thousands, then millions in cryptocurrency. Little did they know, they were about to stumble into the middle of one of the biggest meltdowns in crypto history. But that, my friends, is where our story really heats up. Stay tuned, because we're just getting started. Up next, we'll dive into the collapse of a major cryptocurrency exchange and how our SIM swapping crew might have pulled off one of the biggest crypto heists of all time. Are these events related? Well, you'll have to stick around to find out. All right, folks, let's dive into the nitty-gritty of how this SIM swapping crew allegedly operated. Our three amigos, Powell, Rohn, and Hernandez, are cooking up a scheme that would make your average con artist blush. During their operation, they even brought Hernandez on board. Why? To target the ladies. That's right. They figured a woman's touch might help them pull off more convincing scams on female victims. It's like social engineering with a bit of friendly fire. Now let's talk numbers, because this is wild. On October 28th, 2022, they allegedly hit victim $293,000 in crypto. Warm-up. A week later, on November 3rd, they upped their game. Victim VC got taken for over $1 million. That's right, 7 figures, gone in a flash. How did they pull it off? Well, for VC, they allegedly used a fake ID in Utah to convince AT&T to hand over control of the account. Identity theft on steroids, folks. But here's the kicker. All of this was just a prank, because on November 11th, 2022, the crypto world was about to be turned upside down. FTX, biggest crypto exchanges out there, filed for bankruptcy. Its boy wonder CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, was at a new sheriff named John Ray III was in town to clean up the mess. Little did anyone know, this chaos was about to provide the perfect cover for one of the biggest in history. But that, my friends, is where our year, November 11th, 2022, a day that'll go down in infamy in the crypto world. FTX, one of the big exchanges out there, just imploded. We're talking full-on bankruptcy, with CEO Sam Bankman-Fried getting the boot and a new guy, John Ray III, in to clean up the mess. It's wild. At 9:22 p.m. that very night, while everyone's losing their minds over FTX, someone starts moving money. And we're not talking chump change here. The first transfer? 9,500 ETH. Okay, cool. Just a measly $15.5 million at the time. That's like someone breaking in while your house is on fire, or reloading with your pants down. Over the next few hours, it was mayhem. Hundreds of millions in crypto assets start vanishing from FTX's wallets. By the time the dust settled, we're looking at $400 million gone. Poof, vanished into the digital ether. Now remember our SIM swapping crew? Well, the indictment alleges they were right in the thick of this chaos. Allegedly, Hernandez shows up at a Texas AT&T store with a fake ID. It's got her photo but someone else's info. Classic move. Using this, they allegedly pull off a SIM swap on an FTX employee's account. And just like that, they've got the keys to the kingdom. But wait, there's more. While all this is going down, they allegedly hit another victim, me, for $590,000 in crypto. I can't stop imagining a vivid picture in my head where these SIM swappers are claiming their treasures one by one, like playing whack-a-mole with people's lives. Now, the FTX folks weren't completely ill. They managed to save about $300 million before the thieves could grab it. There's this wild story about an FTX advisor, Kumanan Ramanathan, who ends up storing $400 to $500 on a personal hardware wallet. Imagine having $500 million on what's essentially a fancy USB stick in your house. Anyway, the thieves start playing this insane game of digital hot potato with the stolen funds. They're using things called decentralized exchanges, or DEX, to swap the stolen crypto. Think of these as crypto swap meets where you can trade one type of coin for another without anyone asking too many questions. The big names here are Uniswap and PancakeSwap. Yeah, crypto folks love their quirky names. It's like trying to launder money, but instead of a car wash, you're using a bunch of different crypto tokens. They're not just swapping coins, they're jumping between entire blockchains. They're using these things called cross-chain bridges. It's like they're teleporting money between different digital universes. The goal? Make the stolen funds as hard to trace as possible. Imagine them as secret tunnels between different crypto worlds. But it's not all for our digital bandits. Tether managed to throw a wrench in the works. They won $1.5 million of the stolen funds. In total, the thieves lose about $9 in the first few days just from seizures and transaction costs. It's like they hit the emergency stop button on a chunk of the loot. I imagine that it hurt these hackers tremendously to only be able to look, not touch. Okay, it can't get any worse, right? Well, wrong. Wilder. Fast forward to November 20th, and we see another big move. 60 Ethereum gets moved to the Bitcoin blockchain. They used something called REN. Now, here's a twist that'll make your head spin. RenBridge was owned by Alameda Research, which was tied to FTX. So, in a weird way, the stolen F were being laundered through a service connected to FTX itself. It's like robbing a bank and then using the bank's own armored truck to get away. By December 12th, they're really key world of crypto laundering. They sent 2,849 Bitcoin through mixers, mainly one called Chip Mixer. Mixers are like digital money laundromats. They jumble up transactions to make them harder to trace. At least $4 million made it to exchanges where it might have been cashed out into real-world money. This whole saga is like watching of cops and robbers unfold in real time, and not at the end of this wild ride. But the story doesn't end there. After some time, in April 2023, Chip Mixer gets taken down by the cops. It turns out this mixer had been used to launder a whopping $3 billion from all sorts of sketchy sources. So what does our thief do? They adapt. On September 30th, 2023, we see the remaining 80,000 ETH, now worth $300 million, start moving again. You heard that right, $300 million bucks. They're using something called ThorSwap and a new mixer called Sinbad. Sinbad is probably just a rebranded version of another mixer that got in trouble with the US government. Now our digital has to get creative. Their old laundering methods? They're toast. Renbridge, the service they used before, it's shut down in the wake of the FTX mess. So what do? They pivot. They start using something called ThorSwap. Think of it as a cosmic bridge between different crypto universes. Using this, they managed to turn 72,500 ETH, about $120 million worth, into Bitcoin. The thief then starts using a new mixer called Sinbad. Now, mixers are like digital money laundromats. They jumble up transactions to make them harder to trace. But get this, the folks at Elliptic, who are like the Sherlock Holmes of the crypto world, Sinbad is just a rebranded version of another mixer called Blender. And Blender? It got in hot water with the US government for helping North Korean hackers. Talk about bad company, right? These guys proved time and time again that nothing will stop them from mixo gains. And on October 4th, 2023, while Sam Bankman-Fried, the former FTX boss, is sitting in court, probably sweating bullets, $15 million of the stolen crypto suddenly starts moving. It's like everyone saying, "Catch me if you can." 2 days later, on October 6th, ThorSwap hits the panic button. They shut down their front-end interface, citing potential movement of illicit funds. It's like they suddenly realized they might be an accessory to the biggest crypto heist in history and decided to slam on the brakes. But here's the kicker. Our crafty thief? They just keep on using the underlying Thorchain bridge. It's like if a store door but left the back door wide open. This like watching a high-tech game of cat and mouse unfold in real time. The thief is always one step ahead, finding new ways to move and hide the stolen funds. Meanwhile, companies and law enforcement are scrambling to keep up, trying to close loopholes and track the money. But folks, this isn't just some movie plot. This is real life, with real consequences. The law is starting to catch up. It's hammered to drop. Fast forward to January 18th, 2024. That's when things start getting real for Robert Powell. The feds warrant for him. It's like watching the climax of a heist movie, but this is real. Just a few days later, on January 24, the whole house of cards comes tumbling down. The U.S. District Court in Illinois drops a bombshell. They file a case against not just Powell, but also his alleged partners in crime, Carter Rohn and Emily Hernandez. Now, let's break down what they're accused of, because it's a doozy. We're talking conspiracy to COD. In plain English, they allegedly work together to scam people using electronic communications. But wait, there's more. They're also hit with conspiracy to commit aggravated identity theft and access devices. Basically, they're accused of teaming up to steal and use that info to access accounts they shouldn't. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Remember all those technical details about? The SIM swapping, the cryptocurrency thefts, the laundering through all those fancy decentralized exchanges and mixers? All of that is part of the picture the feds are painting. They're saying this crew exploited the process of transferring phone numbers between devices. That's the SIM we've been talking about. By doing this, they allegedly managed to bypass those pesky multi-factor authentication systems that are supposed to keep our account. But it doesn't stop there. The indictment suggests they used virtual exchanges and even online gambling platforms to move and hide the stolen funds. It's like a high-tech version of laundering money through a casino. Remember all those decentralized exchanges and cross-chain about? The feds are saying the alleged thieves used these to avoid the usual checks. It's like they were playing a game of digital hide-and-seek with law enforcement. This case is far from over. There's still a ton of unanswered questions. Where's all now? Are they solved? And what does this mean for the future of cryptocurrency security? And as for our alleged SIM swapping crew? Well, their story is far from over. Stay tuned, because something tells me we haven't heard the last of this case. We're dealing with hundreds of millions in stolen crypto here. Where is it all now? Some of it's been frozen, some's been cashed out, but a huge chunk is still floating around in the digital ether. It's like trying to track smoke. You can see it, but good luck. It's worth mentioning that one crypto tracing firm suggests that those thieves may have ties to Russia. But here's the thing, for every move the bad guys make, the good guys are learning. Law enforcement is getting savvier about tracking crypto. They've already taken down one of the mixers, chip mixer, that was allegedly used in this scheme. And let's not forget the human element. How many more people might be involved? Are there other SIM swapping crews out there watching and learning from this case? And what about the victims? We've heard about a few, could be many more we don't know about yet. This case is a wake-up call for the entire crypto industry. It shows just how vulnerable these systems, how creative criminals can get. It's forcing exchanges, wallet providers, phone companies to up their security game. This isn't the last we'll hear about SIM swapping or crypto heists. As long as there's digital money to be stolen, there'll be people trying to steal it. And as long as there are thieves, there'll be researchers trying to unmask them. Maybe think twice before you answer that call from your phone company. Because in this brave new world of crypto and cybercrime, you never know who might be trying to swap your SIM and take your precious shekels.
We're diving deep into a digital disaster that unfolded with what seemed like a routine security update. In the world of cybersecurity, nothing is ever as simple as it seems. Alright, so the Patch Tuesday update. This particular update was meant to fix a vulnerability. This CVE was a serious problem with BitLocker, which is Microsoft's built-in encryption tool. Think of BitLocker like a high-tech safe for your data. The issue was that this safe had a flaw that could let attackers bypass the lock and access your encrypted data. It's like finding out your state-of-the-art home security system has a backdoor that any burglar could waltz through. This wasn't just affecting one or two systems either. We're talking about Windows 10, Windows 11, and even Windows Server 2022. That's a lot of computers at risk. The update was supposed to slam that door shut. 0x800-70643. It's like your computer is giving you the digital equivalent of a shrug and saying, nope, can't do it. Now, error codes are about as fun as a root canal. But this one, it was just the beginning of a perfect storm. Now, let's talk about how Microsoft handled this mess. On January 13th, 2024, just 4 days after this update fiasco started, Microsoft finally came clean. They admitted that the error code users were seeing, that 0x800-70643 we talked about earlier? Yeah, that wasn't even the right error message. See, what should have popped up was something like insufficient disk space error. CBSE insufficient disk space. The error code on screen in plain English. That means, hey, you don't have enough space for this update. But because of a coding hiccup, users got this generic error instead. So, what was Microsoft's solution? They told users to manually resize their WinRE partition. Now, for most folks, that's like being told to perform surgery on your own car. It's not exactly user-friendly. Microsoft shared a support bulletin with instructions on how to shrink the C partition by 250 megabytes and create a new recovery partition. They even provided command line utilities to do this, reagents.exe and diskpart.exe. But let's be real, for the average user, this might as well be written in ancient Greek. Fast forward to February 8th, 2024. Microsoft announces they're working on a fix for these errors. Turns out the bad guys were paying attention too. In June 2024, things took a sinister turn. The folks over at Tire's Threat Response Unit stumbled upon something nasty. They caught wind of a VDAR stealer infection. That's a type of malware designed to steal your personal info. But here's the kicker. This infection wasn't just random. It was targeting people who were searching for solutions to that Windows Update error we've been talking about. Picture this. You're frustrated trying to fix this error on your computer. You do what most of us would do. You hit up Google for answers, but instead of finding help, you stumble into a trap. A fake IT support website pops up, promising to fix your problems. Seems legit, right? Wrong. This fake site is actually the first step in a clever con job. It's what we call social engineering, basically tricking people by exploiting their emotions. By June 30th, 2024, researchers uncovered not just one, but multiple fake IT support sites. These weren't just floating around in the dark corners of the internet. No, they were being promoted on YouTube, of all places. The bad guys had compromised YouTube channels to make their scam look more legitimate. These fake sites were pushing what they called fixes for the error. But these weren't fixes at all. They were malicious PowerShell scripts or registry files. For those not in the know, PowerShell is a powerful tool built into Windows, and the registry is like your computer's brain. Messing with either of these can have serious consequences. And the consequences were indeed serious. They were leading to infections with information-stealing malware, including something called the VDAR stealer. This nasty piece of work is like a digital pickpocket on steroids. It can swipe your cryptocurrency wallets, text files, and even your two-factor authentication databases. You know those extra security codes you use to log into your accounts? Yeah, it can grab those too. But wait, there's more. VDAR can also take screenshots of your desktop. It's like having someone look over your shoulder at everything you're doing on your computer. All this stolen data gets bundled up into what the hackers call a log and sent off to their servers. This, folks, is what we call a perfect storm in cybersecurity. The key takeaway here: cybersecurity isn't just about fancy technology or complex coding. Who would have thought that 250 megabytes, less space than a decent smartphone photo takes up, could cause so much trouble? This incident shows how cybercriminals are always watching, always waiting for an opportunity. They saw frustrated users searching for solutions and pounced, setting up fake support sites and spreading malware. It's a stark reminder that in the digital world, your frustration can be a hacker's opportunity. We've seen a whole range of cybersecurity concepts play out in this story. From patch management and vulnerability remediation to social engineering and malware distribution. It's like a crash course in modern cybersecurity threats. The ongoing threat here is clear. As long as there are vulnerabilities, whether in software or in human behavior, cyber criminals will try to exploit them. The BitLocker vulnerability might get fixed, but the next one is always around the corner. So, what can we learn from all this? First off, the importance of timely security updates can't be overstated. Yeah, they can be a pain, but they're your first line of defense against cyber threats. Secondly, and this is crucial, folks, be wary of what you click on, especially when you're frustrated with tech issues. Those fake support sites looked legit enough to fool a lot of people. Always get your fixes from official sources. Lastly, stay informed. The cybersecurity landscape is always changing, and knowledge is your best defense. Whether you're a tech whiz or just an average Joe trying to keep your data safe, understanding these threats is half the battle. Remember, in the world of cybersecurity, the smallest crack can lead to the biggest breach. Stay safe out there. Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Cyber Chronicles. Boy, do we have a wild one for you. We're diving deep into the world of ransomware, where code is king and chaos reigns supreme. Our story begins on August 28, 2023. The cybersecurity world is rocked when news breaks that the Lockbit 3.0 ransomware builder has been leaked online. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, a ransomware builder is basically a toolkit that allows people to create their own custom ransomware. It's like a DIY kit for digital extortion. This leak? It was a big deal. We're talking about a full suite of tools: an encryption key generator, a builder executable, a modifiable configuration file, and even a batch file to tie it all together. It's everything a wannabe cybercriminal could dream of, all wrapped up in a neat little package. But here's where it gets really interesting. The leak allegedly came from a disgruntled developer within the Lockbit operation itself. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you, right? Now, you might be wondering, why is this such a big deal? Well, let me break it down for you. This leak essentially democratized ransomware creation. Anyone with a bit of technical know-how could now set up their own ransomware operation. It's like if the recipe for Coca-Cola suddenly became public, everyone and their grandma could start making knockoff colas. Fast forward to June 2024, about 10 months after the leak. A new player enters the game. Cipher. These guys burst onto the scene targeting organizations worldwide. And guess what? They're using a modified version of that leaked Lockbit 3.0 builder. Talk about standing on the shoulders of giants, huh? But Cipher isn't just another copycat. They've made some tweaks to the encryptor, just enough to make it their own. And they're not messing around. They've set up a data leak site for double extortion schemes. That means they're not just encrypting data, they're threatening to leak it if the ransom isn't paid. It's like holding a gun to your head with one hand and dangling your secrets over a cliff with the other. Little did we know, this was just the beginning of a cyber saga that would soon capture the world's attention. But more on that after the break. Stay with us. The plot's about to thicken. Cipher isn't your average ransomware operation. These guys are running a tight ship. First off, let's talk tech. Cipher's ransomware is like a souped-up version of Lockbit 3.0. They've made some tweaks to the code, mainly in what we call the PE header structure. That's the part of the program that tells a computer how to run it. It's like they've taken a Ferrari and added a custom paint job. Same engine, different look. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Cipher isn't just throwing darts in the dark. They've got a whole playbook. It starts with phishing. You know, those sketchy emails that try to trick you into clicking something you shouldn't. Once they're in, they go to town. They'll use all sorts of tricks to get more access, dodge security, and sniff out the good stuff. But here's the kicker. They're not just after your data. They're after your passwords, your login cookies, anything they can use to dig deeper into your network. It's like they're not satisfied with robbing your house. They want the keys to your car and your safety deposit box too. And get this. They're running what we call a double extortion scheme. That means they're not just locking up your data, they're threatening to leak it too. They've got a whole website set up for it. It's like holding your secrets for ransom and threatening to shout them from the rooftops if you don't pay up. Speaking of paying up, these guys aren't messing around. They've been asking for anywhere from $20,000 to $8 million. That's a pretty wide range, but I guess it depends on how big a fish they've caught. So that's the Brain Cipher operation in a nutshell. They're smart, they're organized, and they're not afraid to go after big targets. But as we'll see, even the smartest criminals can make some pretty surprising moves. This is where our story takes a wild turn. On June 20th, 2024, Brain Cipher decided to go big. I mean, really big. They set their sights on Indonesia's Temporary National Data Center, or PDNS for short. Now, this isn't just some random target. We're talking about a crucial piece of government infrastructure. The attack was brutal. In one fell swoop, Brain Cipher managed to disrupt over 200 government agencies. Think about that for a second. 200 agencies, all knocked offline. We're talking about immigration services, passport control, even the system for issuing event permits. All of it gone in an instant. But Brain Cipher wasn't done. They demanded a whopping $8 million ransom. And get this, they wanted it paid in Monero. For those of you who don't know, Monero is a cryptocurrency that's super hard to trace. It's like the digital equivalent of unmarked bills. Now, 4 days later, on June 24th, the Indonesian government confirmed what everyone feared. Brain Cipher was behind the attack. They didn't waste any time. They launched investigations, started doing digital forensics. That's basically like CSI for computers. They were pulling out all the stops to figure out what happened and how to fix it. While all this was going on, the government was scrambling to get things back online. They were restoring services, migrating data, and implementing what they called data isolation measures. That's a fancy way of saying they were trying to stop the attack from spreading any further. All right, folks, let's wrap this wild ride up. On July 2nd, 2024, Brain Cipher threw us another curveball. They announced they'd release the decryption keys for free. Yeah, you heard that right. Free. After all that chaos, they're just gonna hand over the keys. But here's where it gets really weird. They apologized to Indonesia for all the trouble they caused. Can you believe it? A ransomware gang saying, sorry. It's like a burglar leaving a my bad note after robbing your house. Now, get this. Brain Cipher claimed this whole attack was something they called a pen test with post-payment. For those of you who don't know, a pen test is short for penetration test. It's when good guy hackers try to break into a system to find its weaknesses. But usually, they're invited to do it. This post-payment thing, that's not a real thing. It's like saying, I robbed the bank to test their security, and now I'll give the money back. They even had some advice for the Indonesian government. They said, and I quote, consider the ransomware attack a lesson on the importance of financing the cybersecurity industry and recruiting qualified specialists. It's like they're saying, hey, we broke into your house to show you that you need better locks. Brain Cipher promised to release the keys by Wednesday. Though they didn't specify which Wednesday, they said, we hope that by Wednesday we will get something. And we repeat again, we will give the keys absolutely free of charge and on our own initiative. What they hoped to get by Wednesday, they didn't say. So, what do we make of all this? A ransomware gang that attacks, then apologizes, then gives everything back for free? It's unprecedented in the world of cybercrime. Is this a genuine change of heart? A bizarre PR stunt? Or something else entirely? One thing's for sure. This attack on Indonesia's national data center has shown just how vulnerable even government systems can be. It's a wake-up call for organizations everywhere. If a ransomware gang can disrupt over 200 government agencies in one go, what else might be possible? As we sign off, remember, in the world of cybersecurity, expect the unexpected, and always, always back up your data. Hacker Gallery, signing off. Today we're diving into a digital nightmare that unfolded at Patelco Credit Union. Buckle up, because this story's got more twists than a pretzel factory. Let's start with the basics. Patelco isn't your average corner credit union. We're talking about a financial behemoth with nearly 500,000 members and a staggering $9 billion in assets. They've got 37 branches scattered across Northern California, with about 800 employees keeping the wheels turning. In the Bay Area credit union scene, they're the third largest player, which makes them a juicy target for cybercriminals. On June 29, 2024, Patelco got hit with a ransomware attack that turned their digital world upside down. But before we dive into the chaos, let's break down what ransomware actually is for those who might be new to the cyber game. Ransomware is like a digital locksmith gone rogue. It sneaks into a system, often through a phishing email that someone clicks on, and then it encrypts all the data it can find. Encryption is basically scrambling the data so it's unreadable without a special key. The attackers then demand a ransom in exchange for that key. It's digital extortion, plain and simple. When this hit Patelco, it wasn't just a minor inconvenience. We're talking about a full-scale meltdown of their digital services. Online banking, gone. Mobile app, kaput. Call center, good luck getting through. Members couldn't make transfers, check their balances, or even access their direct deposits. Even debit and credit card transactions were limping along with limited functionality. The timing of this attack? It's enough to make a conspiracy theorist's head spin. It happened right at the start of the month, near a bank holiday. Cybersecurity experts have said the timing is very bad for the users and actually well-planned timing for the hackers. The layers of trouble are magnified by the timing. The people who planned it when there was a lot of money. So, as we dive deeper into this digital disaster, remember, in the world of cybercrime, timing is everything, and no target is too big to fall. Somewhere in the digital shadows, a group of hackers was revving up for a massive attack. Now, what these cybercriminals had in mind wasn't a normal hack. We're talking ransomware, the digital equivalent of a hostage situation, but with data instead of people. Imagine someone sneaking into Patelco's digital vaults, locking up all the financial records, and demanding a fat stack of cash for the key. Here's how these attacks typically roll out. The bad guys craft some convincing-looking emails, maybe posing as a bigwig at Patelco or a trusted partner. This is what we call phishing, and it's the digital bait used to hook unsuspecting employees. One click on a dodgy link, and boom, the ransomware slips in like a thief in the night. Once inside, this malicious software goes to town, encrypting everything it can find. Now, encryption itself isn't the villain here. It's actually the superhero that keeps your online banking secure. But in the wrong hands, it's like giving Lex Luthor Superman's powers. The ransomware scrambles all of Patelco's data, turning it into digital gibberish that's useless without the decryption key the hackers are dangling as bait. We're talking customer records, transaction histories, account balances, all locked up tighter than you know what. But here's where these hackers showed they weren't just tech savvy, they were strategic masterminds. They timed their attack with surgical precision. Think about it. End of June, right before a bank holiday weekend. Paychecks are flooding in, bills are coming due. It's prime time for a credit union like Patelco handling a tsunami of transactions. By striking then, the hackers amplified the pressure on Patelco to cough up the ransom and get their systems back online pronto. But Patelco didn't just roll over. They went into full incident response mode. This is where the tech stuff gets real, so, stick with me. They proactively shut down several of their day-to-day banking systems. Why? 2 reasons: containment and remediation. Containment is like digital quarantine. You isolate the infected systems to stop the malware from spreading. Remediation? That's the cleanup process, trying to kick out the bad guys and restore normalcy. The impact was massive. Let me break it down for you. Electronic transactions, gone. That includes transfers, direct deposits, balance inquiries, and payments. Zelle transfers? Nope. Debit and credit card transactions? Working, but barely. Patelco spelled it out. Currently, electronic transactions, such as transfers, including Zelle, direct deposit, balance inquiries, and payments, are unavailable. Debit and credit card transactions function in a limited capacity. Now, here's where it gets interesting. By June 30th, Patelco brought in the cavalry. They engaged a leading third-party cybersecurity forensic firm. These are the digital detectives who specialize in unraveling complex cyber attacks. They told their members, "Our teams are working around the clock with top-tier cybersecurity experts to assess the situation and to restore service to you." This is what we call in the cybersecurity world operational impact. It's when a cyber attack doesn't just hit a company's computers, but reaches out and messes with people's daily lives. And in the case of Patelco, with its $9 billion in assets and 500,000 members, that impact was massive. The scary part? As of July 2nd, there was still no estimated time for when things would get back to normal. Look how vulnerable our digital financial systems can be, even for a credit union as big as Patelco. When you're dealing with a cyber attack this big, it's not just about fixing the tech. It's about taking care of the people caught in the crossfire. On July 2nd, Patelco dropped some news that probably had a lot of their members breathing a sigh of relief. They said, and I'm quoting directly here, "To our valued members, please know that if you incur a late payment fee because of this outage, rest assured we will reimburse you for those fees." Now, that's a big deal. But they didn't stop there. Patelco also announced they'd waive overdraft fees, late payment fees, and even ATM fees until they got their systems back up and running. That's like your bank saying, "We know we messed up, so we're not going to charge you extra for it." Here's another cool move. Patelco offered to write letters for any members worried about how this mess might affect their credit scores. Imagine you're trying to buy a house, but your mortgage lender sees a bunch of late payments from when Patelco was down. That letter from Patelco could be the difference between getting approved or denied. Now all of this, the fee waivers, the credit score letters, the promise about deposits, this business continuity is what keeps things running as smoothly as possible when everything's gone sideways. And let me tell you, in a ransomware attack like this, it's crucial. These moves by Patelco, they're not just about being nice, they're about maintaining trust. Because when your members can't access their money, that trust can evaporate real quick. And in the banking world, trust is everything. So while Patelco's tech team was battling the ransomware, their customer service folks were fighting a different battle, keeping their members from jumping ship. And in a crisis like this, that's just as important as fixing the computers. It's July 2nd, And Patelco Credit Union is still knee-deep in quicksand. They still can't tell their members when things will be back to normal. Imagine that. A financial institution managing nearly $10 billion in assets, and they're basically saying, "We don't know when you'll be able to use online banking again." That's not just inconvenient, it's downright scary for their 500,000 members. But it gets worse. There's this big question mark hanging over everyone's heads. Did the hackers get their hands on members' personal information? Patelco's not saying yes, but they're not saying no either. In the world of cybersecurity, that silence can be deafening. As for their attack vector, well, hackers send out emails that look legit, hoping someone will bite and click on a bad link or attachment. Once they're in, they encrypt everything. That's fancy talk for scrambling all the data so only they can read it. It's like changing all the locks in your house and then demanding you pay up for the new keys. And also, think about it. End of the month, right before a holiday weekend. Paychecks are coming in, bills are due. It's when a credit union like Patelco is handling a ton of transactions. By striking then, the hackers maximize the pressure on Patelco to pay up and get their systems back online. This attack isn't just about Patelco. It's a wake-up call for the entire financial sector. It shows how vulnerable even big institutions can be. We're talking about the third largest credit union in the Bay Area, with 37 branches and 800 employees, brought to its knees by a well-timed cyber attack. There is one silver lining, though. Patelco's deposits are insured by the National Credit Union Administration, so even in this worst-case scenario, members' funds are protected. But let's be real. That's cold comfort when you can't access your money or pay your bills on time. As we wrap up this digital nightmare, there are still more questions than answers. How long will the recovery take? Will members' trust in Patelco ever fully recover? And perhaps most importantly, how can other financial institutions prevent this from happening to them? Cybersecurity is a fundamental part of doing business. And as Patelco's story shows, the consequences of getting it wrong can be catastrophic. Imagine this. You're sitting at your computer, minding your own business, when suddenly everything locks up. A message pops up saying all your files are encrypted, and if you want them back, you gotta pay up. That's ransomware in a nutshell. Now, back in August 2020, a new player entered the game, DarkSide. DarkSide meant business, and they were about to make that crystal clear to the whole world. May 7th, 2021. A date that'll go down in cybersecurity infamy. That's the day DarkSide, our ransomware gang, hit the motherlode Colonial Pipeline. Now, we're not talking about some mom-and-pop shop here. Colonial Pipeline is the largest fuel pipeline in the United States. We're talking 45% of the East Coast's fuel supply. And DarkSide, they shut it all down. Just when DarkSide thought they were on top of the world, the heat started coming down hard. By the end of May 2021, barely a month after their big score, DarkSide announced they were shutting down operations. According to them, their hosting provider had blocked access to their servers. They also claimed that the funds on their payment server had disappeared. Now, whether that's true or not, we can't say for sure, but it's a classic example of what we call disruption of cybercrime infrastructure. Remember the gang that just shut down? Well, they didn't stay gone for long. On July 31st, 2021, just 2 months after they supposedly shut down, they pulled a classic cybercrime move, the rebrand. DarkSide came back as BlackMatter. Now, this is a common tactic in the cybercrime world. When the heat gets too much, these groups don't quit. They just change their name. It's like a digital witness protection program, but for the bad guys. Well, as BlackMatter was saying goodbye, a new player was entering the game. BlackCat, also known as ALPHV. Now, BlackCat wasn't just another ransomware operation. These guys were innovators. They were the first ransomware group to successfully use something called the Rust programming language. For those of you who aren't computer geeks, Rust is a programming language that's known for being fast and secure. It's not easy to use, which is why it was a big deal that BlackCat managed to pull it off. This showed that these cybercriminals were getting more sophisticated, using cutting-edge tech to make their malware harder to detect and stop. We're diving into the peak of ALPHV's reign of terror. And trust me, it's a doozy. So remember how I said BlackCat, or ALPHV, was just getting started? Well, the FBI wasn't messing around when they started tracking these guys. Between November 2021 and March 2022, they linked ALPHV to at least 60 breaches worldwide. That's not a typo. 60 breaches in just 4 months. We're talking about a new attack every other day on average. This is what we call a rapid proliferation of ransomware attacks. And it's every cybersecurity expert's nightmare. In December 2023, the FBI pulled off something straight out of a tech thriller. They breached ALPHV BlackCat servers. Now, this wasn't just some quick smash-and-grab job. The FBI set up shop in ALPHV's digital backyard and started monitoring their activities. They were like digital ghosts, watching everything ALPHV did without being detected. But here's where it gets really interesting. The FBI didn't just watch, they acted. They managed to snag decryption keys from ALPHV's servers. For those of you who aren't tech-savvy, think of these keys like the ultimate skeleton key for ALPHV's digital locks. These decryption keys are the secret sauce that can unlock files encrypted by ransomware. And boy, did they put those keys to use. The FBI helped over 500 victims recover their files. This wasn't just a win for the good guys. It saved an estimated $68 million in ransom demands. That's a lot of cash that stayed out of the bad guys' pockets. On March 1st, 2024, rumors started flying about a massive ransom payment. The story goes that Optum, a healthcare company, allegedly paid ALPHV BlackCat $22 million after an attack on their Change Healthcare platform. Here's the kicker. This claim came from someone saying they were an ALPHV affiliate. It's important to note that this is unconfirmed. We can't say for sure if it really happened, but if it did, it shows how these ransomware groups operate. They often work with affiliates, other cybercriminals who use their tools to carry out attacks and split the profits. This is part of what's called a ransomware as a service, or RAS model. This whole situation highlights a few key concepts in cybercrime. First, there's the idea of ransom payments. Companies sometimes pay up because they think it's cheaper or faster than trying to recover on their own. But it's controversial because it encourages more attacks. Let's dive into the final days of ALPHV BlackCat and the fallout from their reign of digital terror. March 4th, 2024. Mark that date because that's when ALPHV BlackCat suddenly went dark. They shut down their servers, just like flipping a switch. In the cybercrime world, we call this going offline. It's when a group's entire infrastructure, the computers they use to manage their operations, suddenly disappears from the internet. Now here's where it gets interesting. There were claims flying around that ALPHV had pulled what we call an exit scam. Basically, they allegedly scammed their own affiliate out of that $22 million Optum ransom we talked about earlier. Remember, in the ransomware as a service, or RAS model, affiliates are supposed to get a cut of the ransom. But word on the street was that ALPHV took all the cash and ghosted. This highlights the instability in cybercrime ecosystems. These criminal groups operate on trust, as crazy as that sounds, and when that trust breaks down, things can fall apart fast. But let's be clear, we can't confirm if this scam actually happened. It's all allegations at this point. What we do know for sure is that ALPHV's servers went offline. This is a big deal because it means their whole operation ground to a halt. No more new attacks, no more threatening victims, no more collecting ransoms. It's like the digital equivalent of a business closing its doors and turning off the lights. Now let's shift gears and talk about the aftermath of one of ALPHV's biggest attacks, the Prudential financial breach. On March 29, 2024, Prudential sent out breach notifications to affected individuals. This is a crucial step in what we call breach disclosure, which is often required by law. Initially, Prudential reported that 36,545 people were affected, including 201 Maine residents. But hold on to your hats, because that number later skyrocketed to 2,556,210 people, with 21,877 in Maine alone. That's a massive jump, and it shows how the full scale of a breach can take time to become clear. The breach was described as both an external system breach and social engineering. Let's break that down. An external system breach is what most people think of when they hear hacking. It's when attackers break into a network from the outside, exploiting vulnerabilities in the system. Social engineering is a whole different ballgame. It's not about technical skills. It's about manipulating people. Attackers might pose as IT support, a colleague, or even a boss to trick employees into giving up sensitive information or access. It's like digital con artistry. The combination of these two methods shows how sophisticated ALPHV's attack was. They weren't just relying on technical exploits, they were also exploiting human psychology. So, what kind of information was stolen? Prudential reported that the breach involved name or other personal identifier in combination with driver's license number or non-driver identification card number. This is serious stuff. With this info, identity thieves could potentially open fake accounts, take out loans, or even commit crimes in your name. To help mitigate the damage, Prudential offered affected individuals 24 months of identity theft and credit monitoring services through a company called Kroll. These services can help spot suspicious activity on your credit report and alert you to potential identity theft. ALPHV BlackMatter, one of the most prolific ransomware groups in history, went out with a whimper and possibly a scam. Meanwhile, millions of people are left dealing with the aftermath of their attacks. It's a reminder of the real-world impact of cybercrime. The scale of this breach, over 2.5 million people affected, really drives home the massive impact these cyber attacks can have. We're not just talking about numbers on a screen here. Each one of those 2.5 million is a real person who now has to worry about their personal information being out there in the wrong hands. And that, folks, is how the saga came to an end, for now.
In a dimly lit room, the soft blue glow of dozens of computer screens casts eerie shadows on the walls. Lines of code scroll endlessly across these digital sentinels, a cryptic language that holds the keys to our modern world. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the front line of our digital defenses. Welcome to the realm of cloud data security, where information flows like water through a vast, invisible network. In this age of bits and bytes, our most valuable assets aren't locked away in physical vaults, but stored in nebulous data centers scattered across the globe. Imagine, if you will, your personal information, your name, address, credit card details, all reduced to strings of ones and zeros, floating in this digital ether we call the cloud. It's a world of convenience, where data can be accessed from anywhere, at any time. But with great power comes great vulnerability. In the cloud, traditional security measures are like castle walls in an age of aerial warfare. Necessary, but no longer sufficient. Here, in this shadowy digital landscape, a new breed of guardians stands watch. They monitor endless streams of data, looking for patterns, anomalies, anything that might signal a breach in our digital defenses. But for every guardian, there's a would-be intruder, probing for weaknesses, seeking a way in. And in this high-stakes game of digital cat and mouse, the consequences of failure are catastrophic. A single misstep, a moment of complacency, and millions of lives can be affected, fortunes lost, and reputations shattered. As we delve deeper into our tale, remember, in the world of cloud data security, paranoia isn't just prudent, it's essential. For in this realm, the biggest threats often come not with a bang, but with the silent tap of a keyboard in a room much like this one. In the digital landscape of modern business, Snowflake stands as a colossus of cloud data warehousing. This isn't just another tech company, it's a sophisticated platform where businesses store and analyze vast troves of information in the cloud. Snowflake's role is critical. It provides a centralized repository for data that can be accessed and analyzed from anywhere at any time. But in this world of convenience and accessibility lurks a silent threat: info stealers. These malicious programs are the digital equivalent of master thieves, designed with a singular nefarious purpose: to harvest sensitive information from unsuspecting victims. The arsenal of info stealers is diverse and deadly. Vidar, Rise Pro, Redline, Raccoon, Stealer, Luma, and Metastealer. Each name represents a different tool in the cybercriminals' toolkit. These aren't your average computer viruses, they're sophisticated instruments of data theft. What makes info stealers particularly insidious is the breadth of their reach. They don't just go after one type of data. Instead, they cast a wide net, harvesting browser data, cookies, credentials, credit card information, and even cryptocurrency wallets. It's a smash and grab operation in the digital realm, leaving no stone unturned in the quest for valuable information. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of info stealers is their longevity. The credentials they steal don't come with an expiration date. In some cases, these pilfered keys to digital kingdoms can remain valid for years, a ticking time bomb in the world of cybersecurity. In the dark recesses of the digital world, November 2020 marked the beginning of our tale. It was then that the first info stealer infection tied to this saga was observed. Like a virus incubating before a full-blown epidemic, it lay dormant, waiting. The culprits? A rogues gallery of digital parasites: Vidar, Rise Pro, Redline, Raccoon Stealer, Luma, and Metastealer. These aren't your garden variety computer viruses. No, these are sophisticated tools of data theft, each with its own specialized function. These info stealers are designed with a singular, nefarious purpose: to harvest the most sensitive information from unsuspecting victims. They don't discriminate in their hunger for data. Browser histories, cookies, login credentials, credit card information, even the keys to cryptocurrency wallets. All are fair game for these digital predators. But here's the truly chilling part, folks. The credentials these info stealers pilfer aren't like milk left out on the counter. They don't spoil overnight. No, these stolen keys to digital kingdoms can remain valid for years, Imagine a thief making a copy of your house key. Now imagine that key working, not just today, not just tomorrow, but potentially for years to come. That's the longevity we're dealing with here. These stolen credentials are time bombs, ticking away in the shadowy corners of the internet, waiting for the right moment to explode, and explode they did. Because as we'll soon see, these seemingly innocuous infections in November 2020 were just the opening act in a much larger, more sinister performance. A performance that would eventually bring one of the biggest names in cloud data warehousing to its knees. In the digital underworld, mid-April 2024 marked the beginning of a campaign that would send shockwaves through the cybersecurity landscape. The attacker group, known only as UNC 5537, set their sights on a target that held the keys to countless corporate kingdoms: Snowflake. UNC 55537 wasn't your average group of script kiddies. These were professionals, methodical in their approach and ruthless in their execution. Their methods were a masterclass in modern cyber warfare, leveraging a potent cocktail of stolen credentials, sophisticated tools, and patient reconnaissance. The group's infrastructure was as complex as it was effective. They used virtual private networks, or VPNs, like Mulvad, or private internet access to mask their tracks, making it nearly impossible to pinpoint their true location. For data exfiltration, they employed virtual private server, or VPS, systems from ALPHV SRL, a Moldovan provider, adding another layer of obfuscation to their operations. But how did UNC 55537 get their foot in the door? The answer lies in the digital breadcrumbs left behind years earlier. According to a Wired article, the company says it became aware of the suspicious activity on May 23rd, but has since found out it had been happening since mid-April. The attackers' initial access was obtained through a chilling combination of methods. They used stolen credentials, some harvested by info stealers as far back as November 2020, others purchased on cybercrime forums where digital identities are traded like commodities. The scale of this credential abuse was staggering. At least 79.7% of the compromised accounts had prior credential exposure. It was as if UNC 5537 had been given a master key to Snowflake's digital fortress. But here's where it gets truly unsettling. The attackers specifically targeted accounts without multi-factor authentication. In the world of cybersecurity, MFA is like a second lock on your door. UNC 5537 simply walked past all the reinforced entrances and found the ones left with a single, simple lock. This wasn't just a breach. It was a calculated invasion, exploiting the digital equivalent of doors left unlocked and keys hidden under welcome mats. And as April turned to May, the true extent of UNC 5537's infiltration would begin to reveal itself, leaving the cybersecurity world reeling in its wake. On April 24th, 2024, the digital world trembled, though few felt it. This was the day of the earliest known breach in the UNC 5537 campaign, a day that would live in infamy in the annals of cybersecurity. The attackers wielded a weapon of terrifying precision: Frostbite. This wasn't just another run-of-the-mill hacking tool. No. Frostbite was a digital skeleton key, custom-built to pick the locks of Snowflake's vast data vaults. Frostbite was a chameleon in the world of code. It came in two flavors, .NET and Java versions, each designed to interact seamlessly with Snowflake's .NET and JDBC drivers. This duality allowed it to slip past defenses, masquerading as legitimate traffic. But Frostbite's true power lay in its ability to perform SQL reconnaissance activities. It was like a master thief casing a bank, methodically mapping out every detail before the heist. With cold efficiency, Frostbite would execute a series of commands, listing users, who has access to what, enumerating roles, what levels of permissions exist, Identifying IPs. Where are the access points? Cataloging session IDs. Which doors are currently open? Mapping organization names. What's the lay of the land? Each query, each command was another piece of the puzzle, building a comprehensive map of Snowflake's digital landscape. But Frostbite wasn't alone in this digital reconnaissance. The attackers also employed dbeaver Ultimate, a legitimate database management tool. It was like using a locksmith's tools for burglary, a perfect disguise for their nefarious activities. As April 24th faded into April 25th, the breach remained undetected. The attackers had gained their foothold, and the stage was set for a data heist of unprecedented scale. The snowball had started rolling down the mountain, gathering size and speed, on its way to becoming an avalanche that would bury the cybersecurity world in its wake. On May 20th, 2024, the digital world trembled. Ticketmaster, a titan in the live event industry, discovered a breach that would send shockwaves through the cybersecurity community. As reported by Ars Technica, Ticketmaster parent Live Nation, which disclosed Friday that hackers gained access to data it stored through an unnamed third-party provider, told TechCrunch the provider was Snowflake. The live event ticket broker said it identified the hack on May 20th. The scale of the theft was staggering. A massive 1.3 terabytes of Ticketmaster data had been exfiltrated, a digital haystack containing needles of personal information from 560 million customers. To put this in perspective, imagine every person in North America having their data compromised twice over. The stolen data was a treasure trove for cyber criminals, encompassing a wide range of personal information, names and addresses, the building blocks of identity theft, email addresses and phone numbers, prime targets for phishing campaigns and spam, partial credit card details, a gold mine for financial fraud, ticket sales and order details, insights into consumer behavior and spending patterns. The potential impact on customers is far-reaching and deeply concerning. With names, addresses, and contact information in the wrong hands, affected individuals face an increased risk of identity theft and targeted phishing attacks. Cyber criminals could craft highly convincing emails or messages, leveraging the stolen ticket sales data to make their schemes appear more legitimate. The partial credit card details, while not complete, provide another avenue for potential fraud. Coupled with other stolen information, these details could be used in social engineering attacks to gain access to full financial information. Moreover, the sheer volume of compromised accounts, 560 million, means that the ripple effects of this breach could be felt for years to come. Credentials stolen in this breach could be used to attempt access to other services where users might have reused passwords. The Ticketmaster breach serves as a stark reminder of the interconnected nature of our digital world. A vulnerability in one system, in this case Snowflake, can lead to catastrophic consequences for millions of individuals across multiple platforms. As we continue to unravel the full extent of this breach, one thing becomes clear. In the realm of cybersecurity, the stakes have never been higher and the line between secure and compromised has never been thinner. As the digital world slumbered, unaware of the storm brewing in its midst, the dominoes began to fall. On May 22, 2024, Mandiant, the cybersecurity firm, uncovered a truth more chilling than anyone had anticipated. In the dead of night, Mandiant's systems hummed with grim purpose. Their victim notification program, a digital early warning system, began to ping incessantly.
The Mandiant report states, and I quote, "On May 22, 2024, upon obtaining additional intelligence identifying a broader campaign targeting additional Snowflake customer instances, Mandiant immediately contacted Snowflake and began notifying potential victims through our victim notification program."
The scope of the breach was staggering. Approximately 165 organizations, each a potential victim, each a domino waiting to fall. Mandiant's analysts worked tirelessly, their screens casting an eerie glow as they collaborated with Snowflake, piecing together the puzzle of this digital massacre. But they weren't alone in this fight. Law enforcement agencies were drawn into the fray, adding their resources to the investigation. The clock was ticking, each second bringing the attackers closer to their nefarious goals. As May 22nd bled into May 23rd, the full horror of the situation began to dawn on Snowflake. According to Wired, the company says it became aware of the suspicious activity on May 23rd. But this wasn't just a simple breach. No, this was a coordinated campaign that had been unfolding right under their noses since mid-April. The attackers had been methodical, patient. They had used a series of SQL commands for data exfiltration, each one a surgical strike against Snowflake's defenses. 1. Show tables, a reconnaissance mission mapping out the digital terrain. 2. Select from, the main assault, extracting data with ruthless efficiency. 3. List LS, enumerating other stages, leaving no stone unturned. 4. Create temporary stage, setting up their exfiltration points. 5. Copy into, compressing the stolen data into zip format, ready for transport. 6. Get, the final act, extracting data from temporary stages. As Snowflake's team grappled with this revelation, the true extent of their vulnerability began to sink in. The lack of multi-factor authentication, outdated credentials, the absence of network allow lists, each a crack in their armor that the attackers had exploited with surgical precision. The dominoes had fallen. The question now was, how far would the devastation spread, and could anyone stop it before it was too late? On May 26, 2024, the digital underworld stirred. A Telegram conversation crackled to life, carrying a message that would send shockwaves through the cybersecurity community.
We've hit the mother lode. Ticketmaster and Santander Bank, both down.
Prove it.
Check breach forums, the feast is about to begin.
As reported by Ronnie Lichtman in a Medium article, the story begins on May 26th. In a Telegram conversation with a threat actor claiming to have hacked two major companies, Ticketmaster and Santander Bank, the digital world held its breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. It didn't take long. By May 30th, the full extent of the breach became horrifyingly clear. Wired reported, Shiny Hunters also claimed to be selling 30 million customer details and staff information from Santander, putting a $2 million price tag on the information. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. On breach forums, a dark web marketplace where data is traded like commodities, two listings appeared that would make even the most hardened cybersecurity experts break out in a cold sweat. First, the Ticketmaster data. Price tag, $500,000. A bargain, considering it contained information on 560 million customers. Names, addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, partial credit card details, ticket sales, order details, all up for grabs. But the Santander data? That was the crown jewel. Priced at a cool $2 million, it reportedly included 30 million customer records, 6 million account numbers, and 28 million credit card numbers, a veritable goldmine for identity thieves and fraudsters. The attackers had turned the digital world upside down, and now they were offering the spoils to the highest bidder. The Snowflake meltdown had reached its terrifying climax, and the fallout was only beginning to unfold. On May 31st, 2024, as the digital world reeled from the revelations of the past few days, Snowflake finally broke its silence. The company's CISO, Jones, stepped into the harsh glare of public scrutiny, acknowledging the security incident in a blog post that would send shockwaves through the cybersecurity community. As reported by Wired, Snowflake's CISO, Jones, acknowledged the security incident on Friday. The confession was a stark admission of vulnerability from a company that prided itself on security. In the aftermath of the breach, Snowflake's investigation revealed a chilling truth. The impacted accounts lacked multi-factor authentication. It was as if they'd left the keys to the kingdom under the digital welcome mat. But the horror didn't end there. A former employee's demo account, a digital ghost from the past, had also been compromised. This revelation highlighted the dangers of lingering access points, like forgotten back doors in an old house. Snowflake's recommendations were clear and urgent. They urged customers to implement MFA, a digital deadbolt that could have prevented this catastrophe. They also stressed the importance of reviewing user activity, akin to checking security camera footage for signs of intruders. The lack of multi-factor authentication emerged as the Achilles heel in this digital tragedy. MFA, a security measure that requires users to provide 2 or more verification factors to gain access, could have been the difference between a secure system and this catastrophic breach. The technical details of the attack painted a grim picture. At least 79.7% of compromised accounts had prior credential exposure. These were like ticking time bombs in Snowflake's system, waiting for the right moment to explode. The attackers had specifically targeted accounts without multi-factor authentication. It was a stark reminder of the critical importance of this additional layer of security. In the digital realm, a single password is as flimsy as a paper lock on a bank vault. As the dust settled on the Snowflake breach, investigators began to unravel the complex web of the attackers' infrastructure and methodology. What they found was a chilling testament to the sophistication of modern cyber threats. The attackers, like digital phantoms, had cloaked their activities using virtual private networks or VPNs. Specifically, they employed Mulvad or private internet access to access victim Snowflake instances. These VPNs acted as a smokescreen, obscuring the true origin of their malicious traffic. For data exfiltration, the threat actors leveraged Virtual Private Server, or VPS, systems from Alex Host SRL, an AS-219 Moldovan provider. This choice of infrastructure was no accident. It was a calculated move to further obfuscate their tracks. The stolen data found its way to international VPS providers and the cloud storage provider Mega. It was a digital treasure trove, waiting to be exploited or sold to the highest bidder. The initial breach was like picking a lock that had been left untended for years. The attackers gained access through stolen credentials, some dating back to November 2020. These credentials were harvested by info stealers or purchased on cybercrime forums, a stark reminder of the long-lasting impact of seemingly minor security breaches. Once inside, the attackers unleashed their digital weapons. Frostbite, a tool as cold and unforgiving as its name suggests, was used for reconnaissance. This malicious software, with versions in both .NET and Java, interacted seamlessly with Snowflake's .NET and JDBC drivers. It performed SQL reconnaissance activities listing users, roles, IPs, session IDs, and organization names, mapping out the digital landscape like a burglar casing a mansion. But Frostbite wasn't alone in this digital heist. The attackers also wielded DBEver Ultimate, a legitimate database management tool turned to nefarious purposes. It was like using a locksmith's tools to break into a bank vault. The data exfiltration process was a masterclass in SQL-based theft. This SQL-based exfiltration was like a conveyor belt, efficiently moving vast amounts of data out of Snowflake systems. The exploitation of long-lived stolen credentials from info stealers was perhaps the most insidious aspect of this attack. Credentials stolen years ago remained valid, a ticking time bomb in Snowflake systems. It was a stark reminder of the importance of regular credential rotation and the implementation of multi-factor authentication. As the full picture of the attack came into focus, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a breach, it was a meticulously planned and executed heist that exploited vulnerabilities both old and new. The Snowflake meltdown would serve as a chilling case study in the annals of cybersecurity for years to come. The Snowflake breach exposed the intricate web of modern cyber threats. The attackers' methodology, spanning from November 2020 to May 2024, showcased a patient, calculated approach that caught even seasoned security experts off guard. Tracing these digital phantoms proved to be a Herculean task. Their use of VPNs and complex data exfiltration methods created a labyrinth that confounded investigators. The attackers' ability to blend legitimate tools with malicious software further blurred the lines, making attribution a significant challenge. The breach exposed a series of systemic vulnerabilities that had left Snowflake and its customers exposed. Each of these factors contributed to a perfect storm of vulnerabilities. The Snowflake meltdown shows that the smallest oversight can lead to catastrophic consequences.